Games that support the controller always attract our attention because of the ease of control, and this means an increase in the winning percentage. So today I present to you the top 10 games that support the controller in 2023, so relax and get ready to discover your new favorite game. Shadowgun Legends, an online game with a size of 1.3 gigabytes, available on Android and iPhone. Shadowgun Legends is an FPS where you play one of the many heroes signed up to fight against an alien invasion. You can fight against either the AI in campaign mode for one player, or against other players in the online mode. In Shadowgun Legends, you'll find more than 100 different missions, each lasting no longer than a couple minutes, and you can use the joystick in order to facilitate control, to win all missions. Customization options in Shadowgun Legends are endless. In the beginning, you create your own character, customizing its looks as you please. Shadowgun Legends is a spectacular first-person action game that offers an experience that's relatively similar to Destiny but adapted for touchscreens.
2, 1. That's it! Run! Move! Go, go, go!
MadOut2 BigCityOnline, an online game with a size of 3 gigabytes, available on Android and iPhone. MadOut2 BigCityOnline is a Grand Theft Auto-style sandbox game where you get to play a 2-bit criminal. The controls in MadOut2 BigCityOnline are relatively complex, since you have quite a few buttons that change depending on whether you're traveling by foot or in a vehicle. Luckily, the game is compatible with Bluetooth controllers and keyboards, which you can configure in the options. From the options menu, you can also customize the graphics to your liking. In MadOut2 BigCityOnline you'll find an enormous city, where you can drive over 30 different vehicles and use almost a dozen different weapons. The game is very fun and I definitely advise you to download it. Grimvalor, an offline game with a size of 1.1 gigabytes, available on Android and iPhone. Grimvalor is a 2D ARPG that's directly inspired by Castlevania. Players can control a solitary warrior whose main mission is to restore order to the corrupt realm of Valaris. Control systems in Grimvalor are well adapted to touchscreens, and Grimvalor has full support for controllers. The version on Android of Grimvalor lets you play the first episode of the story for free, but it is fully paid on iOS. Grimvalor is an excellent combination of role-playing and standard platformer gameplay. It has a very similar feel to its titles like Castlevania. Plus its graphics are outstanding and the character design is absolutely amazing. Certainly, I recommend you to try it. Dead Effect 2, an offline game with a size of 3.1 gigabytes, available on Android and iPhone. Dead Effect 2 is a first-person shooter set in a space station overtaken by zombies. Your objective is to escape from the space station alive. Before you start playing, you can choose between 4 different characters, each one with a unique ability. As you advance through the story, you can improve your abilities and unlock new powers, making it easier to defeat the zombies you run into. As you play the extensive campaign in Dead Effect 2, you'll encounter all kinds of enemies that only get stronger and more powerful as you go. Dead Effect 2 is without a doubt a top-notch FPS, and I invite you to download and play it.
Escape module.
Beach Buggy Racing 2, an online game with a size of 500 megabytes, available on Android and iPhone. Beach Buggy Racing 2 is a 3D racing game, where you compete neck-to-neck on colorful beach circuits full of booby traps and thrills that are yours for the taking. Game systems in Beach Buggy Racing 2 are perfectly adapted to smartphone screens. Also, the game has full controller support that means control and precision in gameplay. As might be expected from any racing game, your main objective is simply to leave your rivals in the dust. Thankfully, you'll have up to 45 power-ups you can grab as you race around each track to help you on your way. Beach Buggy Racing 2 is overall an excellent karting game that's chock full of action and possibilities. There's a multitude of game modes. Pick from solo mode where you're on your own, or face off against other online players around the world. Space Marshals 3, an offline game with a size of 1.6 gigabytes, available on Android and iPhone. Space Marshals 3 is the third installment in this action and adventure game saga that takes you to outer space to hunt down tons of criminals. You play a bounty hunter who has to get rid of all the enemies in order to complete each level. In Space Marshals 3 once again, you'll find great 3D graphics with isometric perspective. Also, the game has full controller support that means control and precision in gameplay. In Space Marshals 3, you'll get different missions that you have to complete successfully. Space Marshals 3 is an incredibly entertaining title that once again shows the great work put into developing this saga. Dead Trigger 2, an online game with a size of 2 gigabytes, available on Android and iPhone. Dead Trigger 2, the sequel to the original, award-winning Dead Trigger, is here with a new first-person shooter. It's bigger and has even better graphics. The game takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where humanity is on the brink of extinction, and you must fight for salvation. Depending on how well others do on their missions, you can check the progress of the game's story in real time. And of course, you can influence that progress by participating in missions that are exclusive to the story. Dead Trigger 2 is an outstanding first-person shooter with an interesting story that'll keep you hooked on your screen for quite a few hours. Into the Dead 2, an offline game with a size of 2.1 gigabytes, available on Android and iPhone. Into the Dead 2 is a first-person action game where you play as a survivor in the zombie apocalypse. Unlike the first installment of this saga, this installment has an extensive story mode so you finally learn more about your character. Gameplay in Into the Dead 2 is very simple. On the left side of the screen you can control your character's movement, while on the right you can shoot. The game also supports controllers. Into the Dead 2 is an action game with simple but addictive gameplay and absolutely spectacular graphics. In the end, I invite you to download it. Ark Survival Evolved, an online game with a size of 3 gigabytes, available on Android and iPhone. Ark Survival Evolved is the best survival game on PC and console and has been ported to mobile. This adaptation is played practically the same way as the original title. With a first-person perspective, you have to explore your environment in search of materials to make tools and objects to improve your equipment. The 80 different dinosaurs you may come across will also provide you with resources and even transportation. The game can be played either in single-player mode or online where you can collaborate with or fight against other survivors, and interact through a clan system that lets you share supplies and face even bigger challenges. Ark Survival Evolved is the best survival game ever released for mobile, and you can download it through the link in the video description. Tower of Fantasy, an online game with a size of 12 gigabytes, available on Android and iPhone. Tower of Fantasy is the first game created by Hata Studio, set in a colorful open world similar to that of smash hit Genshin Impact. The first step of playing Tower of Fantasy is using the editor to create your character from scratch. All the customization options have an anime aesthetic and are highly detailed. Graphics in Tower of Fantasy are truly superb, thanks in large part to all the details supported by Unreal Engine 4. Of course, as with other similar games, you'll need a high-performing smartphone if you don't want to suffer from lag. In the end, you will see that Tower of Fantasy is a very powerful anime-style MMORPG, and it also fully supports the controller, and I recommend you to download it.
No, I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.